My question is to the Minister of Immigration and asks, when, if ever, can Palestinian New Zealanders expect her response to the repeated calls for a special humanitarian visa to bring their family members safely to New Zealand?
The government, along with our international partners, are closely monitoring the evolving situation in Gaza. I receive weekly updates on the visas issued and have regular conversations with officials on what other countries are doing. At this time, the evidence is that a special humanitarian visa is not a solution to the current crisis. For example, I'm told that Canada, the only country that have created a special visa, has received 986 applications, and only on January the 1st they opened that, and only 14 of those people have managed to complete secondary screening. It is heartbreaking to hear reports like the one this morning on RNZ of a man whose ex-wife and 2 children have visitor visas that we granted in December, who have still not been able to get out of Gaza. I do not want to give false hope to people that a visa will enable them to leave Gaza. As and when the situation changes in Gaza, we will reconsider our position.
Which option would enable more lives to be saved? The status quo or creating a special humanitarian visa to reunite family members of Palestinian New Zealanders with those that are still in Gaza?
Mr. Speaker, I'll reiterate what I said. New Zealand has already been issuing visitor visas to members of Palestinian family members of Palestinians here in New Zealand, and we have not been able to get them out. Unfortunately, the situation is a border situation, and simply issuing visas like the Canadians have done, like we have done, will not mean we can get people out of Gaza. As and when the situation changes in Gaza, we will reconsider our position, and we are monitoring the situation daily.
What further actions beyond monitoring the situation has the Minister explored?
Nothing. Mr. Speaker, as I said in my primary answer, every single week in my bag I ask for updates on the visas that have been issued to Palestinian nationals. I ask for an update on each individual family situation so that I can see who has been issued a visa and who has been able to leave. I have regular conversations with my officials on what other countries are doing, which is why I was able to tell you about, the member about the situation with the Canadian visa, which is the only country in the world that has issued a humanitarian visa and has not been able to get people out. We are monitoring the situation. We are asking about what other countries are being able to do so that we can closely follow them if and when the situation changes.
Does she agree with Minas Al-Ansari, speaking for Kiwi Palestinians with family in Gaza, who said that, quote, "Right now, our family members are being killed and we are helpless to save them. One member of our community has lost 120 members of their family. If Erica Stanford, this national-led government, had granted special humanitarian visas early, as was done for Ukraine, there is absolutely no doubt lives would have been saved. And if so, how many more lives need to be lost before she considers a visa?"
The last part of that question is not acceptable. Just withdraw that last part, because you can't ask someone to comment on a quote and then say if so. It doesn't work. So put it grammatically correctly to the House.
Sure.
But don't repeat the whole question, it's too long.
I can cut the quote then, but does she agree with Minas Al-Ansari, who said, quote, "Right now our families are being killed and we are helpless to save them."
The last part, just rephrase the very last part of the question.
Does she agree with Minas Al-Ansari, who said, quote, "If Erica Stanford, this national-led government, had granted special humanitarian visas early, as was done for Ukraine, there is absolutely no doubt lives would have been saved."
That's the end of the question. You can't rephrase it. You're not carrying on with it.
There's a quote here. I'm trying to shorten it as much as I can.
Get it right. Just take the last part off. It's pretty clear, pretty simple.
Yeah, I'll just repeat the quote without the last bit then. Does she agree with Minas Al-Ansari, speaking for Kiwi Palestinians with family in Gaza?
No, sorry, that's it. Finished. Thank you. Move now to...
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, yes.
How is it that a member is supposed to repeat the end of a question by reframing that whilst not offering the question in its full context?
You can't ask a question for an opinion when, in fact, you are finishing the question by inferring that the content is irrefutable, which effectively the words "if so, do." I asked him to change it several times.
I hear that, Mr. Speaker, and I guess just for sake of clarity for the House, then it would be the most kind of due process for the question in its full.
It's never been a problem for others to correct a small part at the end. I'm just not happy that we're now trifling with the House when other people are able to comply with those
Speaking to the point of order. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. So just to clarify in good faith, what you had asked me was to shorten the quote altogether, which I tried to do. None of the quotes that I had tried to repeat while shortening it were outside of what I had repeated. So I tried to cut the second bit and just repeat the question as it was. My intention is absolutely not to trifle with the House. It is to comply with what was requested of me.
Well, your intention is not meeting its intent. Can we just drop the "if so" part of the question?
Done. That's done.
I can do that.
Good, thank you. The Hansard will record that. The Minister may like to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Look, I would say that, of course, the situation is unimaginable, but I would say that, unfortunately, the comments that man made are not true. We know that people in Palestine who have temporary visas to get out have not been able to get out. We granted visas in December, and people still are unable to get out. It is unfortunately not a visa issue, it is a border issue, and as I've said a number of times, if that changes, we will reconsider our position.